Hey guys, Stealth here. It's a Monday, so welcome to the War Room, episode 49. So, let's start with what happened last week. There was this stream from Eugen informing us about all the new units that we can expect from Israel. Well, not all of them, but a decent number of them. So we got a lot of input on what we can expect, and I'm not going to go over these units in great detail, because I think that they are still up for changes. In the sense that some of these units might get availability changes, some of them might get stat changes. And from what we've seen, I think that the Israeli deck is going to be really powerful, at least in its current form, the way that it was shown during the stream. It has some fantastic weapon systems. Just to mention the ATGM carrier, 110 points, 27 points of armor penetration, 2975 meter range, and I believe it carries 16, maybe even 24 missiles, I don't know, something like that. And on top of that, the missiles are really fast. So those things in an open situation are going to be absolutely devastating to a tank push. Now, of course, these things might change before the deck is released next week, Tuesday, that's October 4th. And when it is released, I will of course be doing a video on it to have a look at what units they actually have. Now, there was a lot of discussion about the Israeli deck on the Reddit forums, or on the Reddit actually, the forums themselves. A few videos got quite a few comments on them, and I think that Eugen has put themselves in a bit of a catch-22 position. They're screwed if they do, and they're screwed if they don't. And here's why. The units that we have seen so far are very powerful. If they launch them as is, then everybody's going to be up in arms going, oh god, they're so strong, these units are too good for the game, the balance isn't there, units OP, please nerf. So then they do. I think that there will be at least one balance patch and some sort of correction patch for the units. I mean, we've seen the same for the Dutch. I'd say that the Dutch were not as powerful as the units that I've seen so far from the Israeli, but the Dutch were given some changes as well. And of course, it only makes sense. Eugen has to gather their data. They have to get some information on how the units are being used, what units might be overperforming, if units might be underperforming, if units are being spammed, and if availability should be nerfed. And that's only stuff that they can really gather when they release the deck. So people are going to be up in arms when the deck is released, saying, Jesus, how am I ever supposed to beat this if I'm playing Red 4? And with that, I predict that we're going to see a lot of Blue 4 on Blue 4 lobbies, with potentially up to 8 Israel players per game, just because everyone wants to play that deck. So that's when the community is up in arms. Units are too powerful, that's at the launch. Then, a few days later, potentially a week to a month, Eugen goes, you know what, we've examined the data, and the data has shown us that some of these units are too powerful. We're going to nerf them. And the community is up in arms again, going, Jesus Eugen, what are you doing? This is my favorite unit. Stop touching the stats. I like it the way it is. And once again, Eugen has pretty much nowhere to go. So they're in a really nasty catch-22. If they do change the units, they're screwed. If they don't change the units, they're screwed. There's always going to be a minority, or sometimes even a majority, who's not going to agree with your design decisions for the deck. And that's okay. That's just the way that these things handle out. I mean, you see the same thing in World of Warships. Some people say, oh, the battleships are overpowered, and other people say, no, the battleships are underpowered and they still get hit by torpedoes every 5 minutes. And wargaming is torn in two separate directions, makes a change, gets a whole load of unforeseen consequences from that change, and as a result they have to go back and re-examine the situation as it is then. And they are actually doing that. They are actually re-examining the situation. Mostly when it comes to changing the economy. This is something that a lot of World of Warships players, a lot of World of Warships community contributors, and basically most of the player base playing tier 10 has been asking for. Wargaming, please change World of Warships, especially the economy part, so I can play tier 10 without losing money. even if you play very, very well at tier 10, even if you do, let's say, 150 to 200,000 points of damage, if you get destroyed, you're still going to lose money. And we're not talking 2,000 to 3,000 credits. Let's say your expensive Yamato is getting blown up, and the Yamato then has to be repaired from scrap. You're going to be paying upwards of, well, I believe 200 to 300,000 credits. That's a lot of credits. That's pretty much what you make with one premium game, on average. Okay, there will be players who make more, there will be players who make less, there's people using premium accounts, there's people not using premium accounts. And all of this is still really, really expensive. So it's mostly causing tier 10 players to play really, really passively, to stay away from threats, to not get hit, to not take a risk, because if they get hit, then they can pretty much already feel their wallet being emptied, because the things are so damn expensive to maintain. So what they're doing now is, and I believe that this is still in the design phases, I'm not exactly sure if any numbers have been released, they're going to change that to have a fixed fee for servicing your ship. This is going to be a fixed fee in the sense that you'll be paying an X amount per match. And on top of that, potentially additional costs, such as what you like to have on your ship. Consumables, flags, premium camo, stuff like that is of course always going to cost extra. But those changes will allow you to do a lot more tier 10 games without having to go back into your tier 5, 6, 7 or 8 premium ship and grind out another 300k. So I think it's going to be a very interesting change. It is going to get tested as well. And I'm not sure if it has been put up on the test server already, let alone if they are going to be getting good information from the test server. Because the test server invokes different playstyle than what you're used to from the live server. Because if you want to test economy changes, then basically simulate the standard situation on a test server. Don't give people millions and millions and millions of credits. Give them tons of gold and give them a high tier ship that they have never played and expect to get good feedback. I don't believe it works that way. What you're going to get are false results. So the only way that they can really get good results or good feedback on it is to basically roll it out on the live server and then hope that there are not going to be any unforeseen consequences, which more often than not works out in wargaming. If they buff battleships, then all of a sudden the cruisers don't really have a position anymore. If they buff the AA for cruisers, like they did a while ago, then the aircraft carriers are going to start complaining and the aircraft carriers don't get played anymore. And all of that is of course changing the game in a way that was potentially unforeseen. So that, for example, you nerf the carrier gameplay in the sense that you buff the AA for cruisers. That carrier population has to go somewhere. And that carrier population could go to even more battleships. And then the amount of battleships increases, so the amount of cruisers gets in trouble. Then the cruisers need a buff, or the battleships need a nerf, and you play catch up basically the entire time. Now we've had World of Battleships for a while now in World of Warships. The battleship meta has been very, very powerful. And I think that we're going to be seeing another change soon. Because let's say that every couple of months these things tend to change. Every couple of months we tend to get different units who are going to get buffed, or different ship classes. So we'll see. Anyway, what else have I been up to? I read Mark Manson's book. I mentioned it already last week, possibly the week before that as well. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And one area I found particularly interesting. I wanted to discuss that a little bit. It's about an experiment that was done, I believe, in the States a while back. This experiment was to show people that... actually, no, I'll get to that later. The experiment was as such. People were put into a room where they had a lot of buttons. I'm not sure if it was like a computer keyboard, I think more like buttons on a control panel of some sort. And the people were told that if they got the right combination, or if they did the right action, I think that that was the phrase that they used, if they performed the right action, then a light would go on. And that was the goal. Get the light to turn on. So what these people did was start pressing buttons and see what works. And they pressed a few buttons and hey, the light went on. Then they pressed the same combination again and the light didn't come on. So what was going on? So they tried a different combination, light went on again, and people started doing all sorts of weird stuff. Some people started using the controls and thought that the light would go on and off because of that action. Other people thought that they had to jump and touch the ceiling in order to make the light go on because they did it and the light went on, so cause and effect. And then all of these people were coming out of the examination room saying, yep, I got it. I know exactly what to do to make the light go on. I need to tap the wall X amount of times, or I need to jump to the ceiling and touch that X amount of times. Or there is a very, very complex combination of keys that I need to hit in a specific order, and then the light will come on. There was no logic. The examiners or the researchers just at random times made the light go on. So all of these people came out convinced that they had the solution. They came out convinced that they knew exactly what to do. And all that it basically was their brain making up things in order to create, let's say, a logical, or what they thought was a logical cause and effect. Cause and effect is not always what it seems. The fact that a light goes on when you happen to touch the roof or the ceiling or tap on the wall X amount of times, it's not a combination of cause and effect. You don't know if the tapping causes the light to go on. You do know that there might be a correlation. But a correlation, meaning that one effect happens to coincide with another effect. I hope you can still catch up and still follow what I'm saying. The fact that the light goes on when you touch the wall or jump to the ceiling, the fact that that happens does not mean that it's cause and effect. And that's something that most people didn't seem to get. And so they came out with all sorts of weird convictions and thinking that, yeah, well, no, I fixed it. This is it. Let me show you. Beware of something like this in your own life. We don't really know anything about anything. And that's something that I try to be aware of at virtually all the time. Here's what I mean. We don't know what we're not aware of, and we are wired to come up with logical solutions for stuff. So, let's say you have a problem and you think, well, if I just attack it this way, then it will go away. You attack it that way, and the problem goes away. Does that mean that you fixed it, or that some sort of external cause managed to do something to make it go away? You don't know. Let's say that you have a very, very loud neighbor. The guy is always playing music at all hours, and you can barely work, you can barely sleep, and it is really, really annoying. At some point, you start to complain to your landlord. You say, look, I really like living here, but this guy is so annoying, and I know he's renting from you as well. Can you do anything about that? 2 weeks later, no more music. Nothing. The guy seems to be quiet. Was it your action that caused the music to stop? Was it your action that caused the music to no longer be played? Or did something else happen? Did his stereo break down? Did his music taste change? Did he suddenly get a girlfriend? Did he maybe go on vacation? You don't know. The fact that one thing happens, you complained, your landlord said, I'm going to do something about it, and then it stops, is not cause and effect. It could be, but you don't know. Not until you've more or less done an experiment on whether the music comes back up after a few weeks. You just don't know. So try to be aware of that stuff in your life. It may seem a little vague, but there is so much that we don't know, can't measure, are unaware of, or unsure about, that when you think that you have something figured out, always ask yourself, what if I'm wrong about this? What if I'm completely wrong about this? What would the situation look like then? And it's going to be refreshing. I've been trying this a lot myself, and it's giving me interesting results. In the sense that with, for example, the Wargame Ranked Game 8 that I did, the helicopter push, I thought, okay, what if I was wrong about this? What if he's not pushing his helicopters forward? What then? What am I then going to do? Because surely he did push his helos forward and he helo rushed me. But what if he hadn't? What then? What would I have been able to capture? What would I have been able to do? And how can I make sure that that works out, or that I can next time do better? Ask yourself those questions and really, really tempt yourself or test yourself to be constantly doubting everything. Because as we've seen, and as the credo from Assassin's Creed goes, nothing is true. We don't know, we can't confirm, it's very, very obscure most of the time. Anyway, with that, another question that I'm going to, well, let's say I was thinking about it. I went to the movies Friday, first to Nerve and then to a movie called Riphagen, or Riphagen in Dutch. The movie is about a gangster or criminal back in World War II, and he pretends to be one of the good guys in the sense that he is trying to help Jews evade capture by the Germans. And he's doing this by seemingly being their friend, asking for a sort of payment, and when he has the payment, he then goes, yep, I can help you. And then a few weeks later, sure enough, they're going to get taken out, or they're going to get picked up by a German squad and shipped to Germany regardless. I doubt that you guys are going to be able to see the movie because it's not big. It is Dutch, so especially since about 95% of my following is English, you probably won't be seeing it. But at the end of the movie, this guy is about to get what he deserves. He's about to get shot. And then the good guy, of course, being the good guy, changes his mind and lets him live and tries to escort him back to the car so he can be tried. And sure enough, as one of the last acts, the guy manages to get killed off, and this is the hero, by the way, gets killed off by the bad guy, and this is a true story, by the way. Riphagen manages to escape to Argentina, where he later helps out the regime there. And I believe he died in 70-something, somewhere in the 70s anyway. So, here's the question. The good guys are usually supposed to let the bad guys live. I mean, that's basically the way that society is wiring us. We're basically being told, do this to be a good guy, or do this to not be a bad guy. The good guys let the bad guys live and get them tried, or get them, I don't know, put them away in a jail cell, whatever. And then, after X amount of time, these people are going to get released again. Do you think they change for the better? Or do you think that, as the good guy should have done at the end of the movie, he just should have shot the bad guy? This is something that I find an interesting question. Because while society and movies and series and whatever seem to try and teach you that you let the bad guys live, you show mercy, and it's the humane thing to do, what usually happens is that you turn around, and sure enough, they've gone and done it again. They've once again committed a murder. They've once again gone after the family member and managed to kill them off. And then you have to live with yourself and the consequences. So what do you do? What do you think you should do? You kill the bad guy off regardless? Become less of a good guy? Or do you hope that the bad guy changes for the better, which, let's face it, doesn't really happen that often? And do you go with that? Lately, I've been more inclined to go with the fuck it, let's kill him mindset. In the sense that you can let him live, but how likely is it that he's going to be not turning around and doing it again? And that is something that I wanted to get your guys' input on as well. Anyway, Nerve, the other movie that I saw, if you've read the book, it's nothing like the book. The only thing that you can expect to see from the book, if you've read it, are the characters. And in case you haven't read the book either, Nerve is a movie about basically truth or dare, taken to an extreme level. Whereas they only get dares. And it starts out relatively peacefully and easily. It starts out quite harmless, like go kiss this random stranger for 5 seconds. But the dares get progressively more difficult, more challenging, more illegal as well. And the game is... Sorry, forgot how to speak English. The game is, in a way, forced by social media. The watchers, which is the other category, you got the players and the watchers. The watchers dictate the dares, dictate the rewards, and basically dictate the next course of action. And of course, the more popular you are as a player, the more followers you have. Basically, the same thing that you see on Twitch when someone's streaming. The more popular they are, the more followers they get. And it sort of shows you how social media is turning us to do, well, potentially bad things. In the sense that these characters in the movie are being pushed on, encouraged to do all sorts of nasty stuff by the standard populace, by the neighbor, by the shy kid from class, whatever. And I think it does a really, really good job at that. So if you have a chance to go, have a look at it, check it out. Nerve in cinemas. Anyway, this week, more World of Warships, more From the Depths. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to stream yet Wednesday. Probably not. I have a really, really busy week ahead. So I probably won't be able to do that. Wargame, of course, will continue. Wargame ranked on Friday. Tuesday, so that's tomorrow, is going to be Tactical Tuesday again. Thursday, From the Depths. Friday, the ranked. Saturday, Subscriber Saturday with one of you guys' replays. And then Sunday is going to be another From the Depths video. And with that, all that's left to remain for me to do is to bid you a good week. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a good week. Let me know what you're up to in the comments, and I'll see you soon for more videos.